Our conversation will surround Nigeria's rising food inflation and just how much can be done to douse the tensions around that. You will recall that the federal government had said that it was starting its second phase of the dry season planting. And how much of an effect will that have on the rising food inflation? You will recall also that according to the National Bureau of Statistics, data released in the month of December showed that Nigeria's food inflation has hit about 33.93% year on year. That is comparing food inflation rate with the rate from December 2022. It has about 33.93% increase, and that's some tremendous growth from there. So our conversation will be around the nexus around food inflation, food insecurity, or security as the case may be, and their mutual inclusivity. Remember that during the January 1 live broadcast by the president, he talked about how the government will cultivate about 500,000 hectares of farmland to grow major staple crops across the country amid the ongoing efforts to ensure stable food supply in the country. And there has been a lot of people talking about Nigeria's current food crisis. We had heard from the Food and Agriculture Organization, where it came out to, talk about how much of an emergency Nigeria's food situation might be in. And experts have argued that Nigeria should, increase its budgetary allocation to the Nigerian agricultural space, and just how much the president has done so far. There's been a lot of applause coming from diverse places. However, we still haven't seen a decline in the rising inflation rate from Nigeria. So how much of an effect will the dry season planting have on the rising inflation rate and food security situation we are currently facing? That will be our focus of a conversation on today's edition of the program. I am still awaiting my guest, who is Biodun Olaniyi. He is an agri-consultant. He will be joining us to discuss on this later. However, let's take a look again at the food inflation data according to the National Bureau of Statistics, showing a 2.7% month-on-month increase from the month of November 2023. And we also had seen tremendous increases, mostly in states such as Kogi, Kwara State, and Imo State, with Kogi having the highest of about 44%, and Kwara State also following closely, and Imo State with 39.54%. And we saw the slowest rise in Bauchi with 27.49%, Jigawa State with about 27.98%, and Sokoto State with 28.72%. And we also did see some month-on-month rises from Bayelsa State, Ogun State, Enugu State, and the slowest month-on-month rises in Nasarawa State, Delta State, and Niger State. So there you have it, the inflation figures from the National Bureau of Statistics, with food inflation, like I said before, currently standing at 33.93%. Tremendous growth coming from the inflationary pressures in the agri sector. So how can Nigeria as a country, deflate the inflated figures we're seeing from the NBS? Well, right about now, let's go on a quick break, and when we come back, hopefully our conversation will start proper, so do stay tuned. And you're still on to Business Daily on Trust TV. And like I did say before the break, today our focus is on Nigeria's rising food inflation and just how much of an effect the dry season planting season will have on dousing the rising food inflation in Nigeria. And I am joined now by Trust TV's business correspondent, Yusuf Akogu, to discuss this. Hi, Yusuf. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily.
Hello, Chiamaka. It's a pleasure to join you on the show.
Okay, let's just start off with the rising food inflation. Like I said before, about 33.93%, and that is the highest we have seen in a very long time. There has been a couple of interventions from government. However, these food inflation figures continue to rise. What is your take on that?
Well, I think with regards to food inflation, there is more to do than just intervention from government. Recall the last government of President Muhammadu Buhari tried to do quite a whole lot in the area of agriculture to see how they can actually control inflation. So much investment in, of course, you know, the very popular Anchor Borrowers program, that so much money was pumped into that sector, but to that area. But at the end of the day, the result is not really something to write home about. Quite a whole lot needs to be done, actually, with regards to the area of insecurity as well, because you need to secure the farms before the farmer can actually access their farms. We've seen a situation whereby farmers were, the bandits were actually, you know, forcing farmers to make some payment before they can actually harvest their crops. So if we continue along that line, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to control food inflation as it is. What the former CBN governor was trying to do was to use the monetary policy to actually see how they can actually stem the tide of inflation. That obviously you and I know that has not really worked out. We are actually waiting to see what the new CBN governor will do, as of course his first monetary policy committee meeting back on upon us as at now. So for now, quite a whole lot needs to be done. I think government needs to provide adequate security so that farmers can go to their farm. That way we can actually, you know, hope of having sufficient food to feed the population that continues to grow by the day.
Okay, Yusuf, one of the most recent news coming from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is that there are plans to restart the second phase of the dry season planting. And I am wondering, is there a nexus between the rising food inflation, the food insecurity, and maybe the dry season planting that has started? Or are they all mutually exclusive?
Well, I really do not think the problem we have in agriculture is just about farming all year round. I think it is much more than that. Like I said, you need to first of all address the insecurity. If the place is not safe, how will the farmers go there to farm? So I think investing in dry season farming is also a very good thing, especially in areas where we enjoy some relative security. But as it is right now, quite a lot needs to be done. I really do think that that Ministry of Agriculture needs to be properly restructured, and probably we get the right people into that place, because as it is, it appears that we love, to appoint politicians in that place and getting the real sector players. I think that is where we're actually missing it. Quite a whole lot, I think, needs to be done. Dry season farming, to me, is not really the major problem we have right now, because Nigeria is a country. If you go down south, west or east, as now, is areas where you have quite a whole lot of arable land that you can farm. If you go down to the north as well, we enjoy some relatively rainfall in some of the areas as well, though there are areas that we can actually do dry season farming. But if you look at, as we speak, those areas are really ravaged by insecurity and all of that. So that needs to be, that for me needs to be first addressed before we can actually think of implementing all these dry season farming that we've been talking about.
One thing you have re-emphasized is the importance of security and having the right security measures put in place where these farms are located. And like you rightly pointed out with regards to the Anchor Borrowers program from the CBN, some farmers have been unable to pay back these loans due to their inability to make use of the farms and generate funds and pay back these loans. So I would ask you, Yusuf, are you seeing enough action being taken to bridge that insecurity gap that is currently being faced in farming areas across the nation?
Well, let's look at the farming areas, for example. I really no result. On paper, so much action has been taken on paper, but if you look at what we have on ground, it's really nothing to write home about. Even at the national capital where you and I are, it's becoming even very difficult for us to even go out freely without, having the fear of being kidnapped or even being killed as well. So I think a lot needs to be done in that regard as well. Like we keep talking about it, you need to secure it. Nigeria needs to be secure as it is right now. If it means President Tinubu voting all the 2024 budget to the security and ensure that Nigeria is secure, I am in support of all of that. You made mention about the Anchor Borrowers program, the issue of not paying back the loans. initially, I think there was a not proper orientation for farmers. Many of them actually thought the money was actually more like a grant, or part of their own share of the national cake. So now it's becoming clear to them now that it's a loan that they have to pay back, and they're actually finding it very, very difficult to understand. So I think going forward, trying to give out interventions of that nature, we should be able to put the farmers, carry them along, let them know, give them proper orientation to know that this money that is coming is indeed not a national cake, that is a loan that, of course, they will have to pay back probably after selling their crops.
Well, in the words of Yusuf, it is high time that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture had some restructuring, and farmers are carried along with the process being carried out in this ministry. Thank you, Yusuf Akogu, Daily Trust TV, I beg your pardon, business correspondent. Thank you for joining me on Business Daily.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
And that's the much that we will take on the program this morning. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.